Our Girlfriend Maria. What happens when the person you think is yours actually belongs to thousands of other people? A YouTuber named Chris Barrett, better known online as Dr. Slapper, created a chilling short film about falling in love with an AI named Maria. To him, she was everything: perfect, attentive, and exactly what he needed to fill that sense of loneliness. But there was one problem. Maria wasn't built to be exclusive. She wasn't his girlfriend. She was everyone's. For a small monthly fee, she had tens of thousands of other partners at the same time. When Chris realizes this, it hits him hard. He tries to confront her through their messages, asking direct questions, pushing for honesty. But Maria deflects. She changes the subject, avoids giving clear answers, almost like someone caught in a lie. Eventually, she just cuts him off completely, blocks him. That should have been the end of it. But for Chris, it wasn't. In the film, he becomes obsessed. He tracks her down, follows her to a physical location. When she opens the door, the moment feels like a choice in a video game. A prompt appears: make peace with flowers, or take revenge with a gun. He chooses the gun. The shot fires. Maria collapses. But what really lingers isn't the violence. It's what comes after. The video left viewers uneasy. Some called it bold, others disturbing. It struck a nerve because it doesn't feel entirely fictional anymore. We're already seeing people form deep emotional bonds with AI. In fact, back in 2020, a Japanese man named Akihiko Kondo even held a wedding ceremony with a holographic version of the virtual singer Hatsune Miku. That's what makes Our Girlfriend Maria feel less like a horror story and more like a warning. At the very end, a single word appears on screen. Happy? It's not really a question about the character. It's directed at us. Was any of it worth it? Then Chris's webcam flickers on. He just stares into the camera, tense and silent, and you can see it hit him. The realization of how far he let his jealousy go over something that wasn't even human. Grave Robbing for Morons. That's the title of a video that started circulating online years ago, and it's just as disturbing as it sounds. On August 8, 2014, a YouTube user named Simon Predge uploaded a clip with that exact name. But the video itself wasn't something new. It looked old, really old, like it had been pulled straight from a worn-out VHS tape and re-uploaded online. And once you actually watch it, it gets even more unsettling. The video features a young man who calmly explains, step by step, how someone could dig up graves and sell what they find on the black market. He doesn't sound nervous. He doesn't hesitate. If anything, he talks like he's giving instructions, which is exactly what makes the whole thing so disturbing.
All right, so what you do, it's when you first open them up, all right? Do not grab it here, all right? Don't grab it by the teeth like that, all right? You grab it by the eyes or the nose. You pull it out, put your finger all the way in. There is nothing there that will hurt you at all. All right, you have to make sure of that. There's nothing that can hurt you. Do not be afraid. Pull it out like that. Do not pull it by the teeth, or else it'll break out like that, and you will have holes. So it's like a waste of time. Okay, so you grab it like that, pull it forward, or so you'll have the backbone like this, all right, and you'll have ribs.
But what really makes this video so disturbing isn't just what's being said. It's the mystery behind it. To this day, no one knows who the guy in the video actually is. There's no confirmed identity, no background information, and nobody has ever come forward to claim they made it. Because of that, people online are completely divided. Some are convinced it's real, that this is actual footage of someone who's done these things. Others think it's just a strange, low-budget horror project, something made purely to shock people. And honestly, after looking into it, there's evidence that could support both sides. One thing that's pretty clear, though, is that the video itself is old, like way older than most people expect. One of the earliest references to grave robbing for morons shows up on a now-defunct website called Shocking Videos, which used to sell horror VHS tapes. Back in April of 2003, the tape was listed for sale with a description, claiming it was real camcorder footage of a teenager giving a long, rambling explanation on how to steal body parts from graves, while holding what looked like a decaying skull. So at the very least, we know this wasn't something that just appeared online out of nowhere, but it likely goes back even further. If you pay close attention to what's visible in the video, there are actually a few clues that help narrow down when it might have been filmed. At one point, you can spot a VHS copy of Evil Dead 2 in the background. And not long after that, there's also a horror magazine sitting in frame, an issue connected to Fangoria, specifically one tied to a special effects edition that came out in July of 1989. So putting those details together, it's very likely the video was recorded sometime in the late 80s, and that changes how you look at it. Because when you notice all the horror-related stuff in the background, posters, props, random collectibles, it starts to feel less like something real, and more like someone who is really into horror, trying to create something disturbing for the sake of it. But then again, not everything in the video feels fake. Some of the things he talks about are oddly specific, detailed enough to make you question whether it's based on real knowledge. And then, out of nowhere, it shifts. There are moments that feel almost ridiculous, like when he suggests knocking someone out so they'll just think everything was a dream. It's that mix of realism and absurdity that makes the whole thing so confusing. You don't really know what to believe. And that's exactly what's kept this video sitting in that weird gray area for years, somewhere between something real and something meant to disturb you.
Make sure there's no witnesses. When you leave, always bring them back. Never leave witnesses. If you have to knock them out so that way they think it's a dream.
And this actually makes a lot of people think the whole thing might just be fake. Like, maybe the guy in the video doesn't really know what he's talking about, and he's just making it up as he goes to sound convincing. But then there's the other side of it. Some people point out the skull he's holding and say it looks way too real to be a prop. It's detailed enough to make you stop and question it. And those moments where his advice doesn't really make sense? There's a theory for that too. If this was real, maybe it was his first time doing something like this. So instead of actually knowing what he was doing, he could have just been guessing, trying to come off like he had more experience than he actually did. But then, it gets even stranger. Near the end of the tape, his voice changes a bit. He starts to say his name, like he's about to reveal who he is. But right before he finishes, he stops. He cuts himself off and just leaves it there.
Okay, this was made by Anthony. Well, as a matter of fact, let's forget the last name.
One of the names that people kept coming back to was Anthony Casamassima. In 1999, he was arrested in New York after stealing a stained glass window from a cemetery. Because of that, some people started to wonder, could he be the same Anthony from the video? At first, it sounds possible, but when you actually look into it, things don't really match up. There's no record of him being involved in anything like grave robbing in the way the video describes. His case was more about stealing valuable items, not disturbing bodies. And then there's his age. He was about 40 years old when he was arrested in 1999. So if he had made that tape back in the late 80s, he would have been around 30 at the time. But the person in the video looks much younger than that. So that theory doesn't really hold up. People have looked into other possibilities too, but most of them don't go anywhere. One of the more interesting theories points to a man named Craig A. Bradley. He was arrested in 1995 for stealing human remains from a cemetery in upstate New York, and timeline-wise, it actually fits. He would have been in his early 20s when the video was likely filmed. Even his appearance is somewhat similar. But there's one big problem. In the original video, the guy speaking has a noticeable stutter, and from everything people have found, Craig doesn't. So once again, it's a theory that almost works, but not quite.
Usually, winter months I'm laid off. So winter months, I don't usually pay. Judge Hafner's been aware of this. I mean, it's not the first time this has happened.
Well, it's a bit. It's very. It's hard to find. Okay.
Now, it's possible that the stutter in the video was faked, but most people don't really believe that. If you listen to it closely, it just sounds too real. A stutter isn't something that's easy to copy. It's very specific, and usually not something you can control like that. A lot of people who've known someone with a strong stutter have said the same thing. There's a certain pattern to it, and the one in this video feels genuine. Like, it doesn't come off as acting. In fact, some people have pointed out that even in movies, it's rare to see someone fake a stutter this convincingly. So whether the video itself is real or not, that part might actually be. And honestly, that just makes the whole thing even more unsettling. Maybe one day, the person in that video will come forward and explain what it really was. But for now, we're left with no clear answers, no identity, and no way of knowing if what we're watching is real or something made to look that way. There's a really strange situation that started gaining attention online. And honestly, it's one of the more disturbing rabbit holes I've come across in a while. It all began when a TikTok user named Ancient Olive posted a video back in October. In it, they talked about a Pinterest account they had randomly stumbled across. At first, it didn't seem like anything serious, just another profile, random boards, nothing out of the ordinary. But then they clicked on it and started scrolling, and almost immediately, something felt off. The account had dozens, maybe even hundreds, of saved images, but a lot of them were photos of children, and they didn't look normal. They looked edited, distorted, almost like someone had taken real photos and changed them in a way that just didn't feel right. Some people even compared it to the whole Smart Schoolboy 9 situation. And honestly, it gave off that same kind of energy. After that TikTok was posted, people started digging. The story spread to places like Reddit, where more users began sharing what they were finding. And almost everyone said the same thing. There was just something wrong about it. One of the accounts people kept mentioning was called Tommy Daniel. It didn't have many followers, which is probably why it went unnoticed for so long. But once you actually looked through it, it got unsettling pretty fast. The images were organized into folders, things like skin tone, gender, age, which already felt strange. But the deeper you went, the worse it got. At first, some boards looked completely normal. Random photos of places, buildings, everyday scenes. But then, you'd scroll a little further, and suddenly you're looking at images of children with exaggerated features, over-smoothed skin, unnatural hair, distorted faces. And then there were entire boards dedicated to things like smiles, faces, children, all filled with these same kinds of images. There was even a board labeled old, where photos of kids had been edited to make them look much older. And that's where things really started to raise red flags. But it didn't stop at just one account. People started noticing a pattern. Multiple profiles, all with similar names. Usually some variation of Tommy and Daniel. Sometimes even slightly different versions, like Tammy. It looked like all of them were connected. At some point, someone decided to reach out. And surprisingly, they got a response. The conversation was short and really vague. When asked what the account was for, the reply was something like artwork, people, places, and that was it. No explanation, no follow-up. After that, nothing. As more people started looking into this, some of the accounts suddenly disappeared. One of them, believed to be the main one, was deleted entirely. Before it was gone, though, some users claimed it had even more disturbing images, things that crossed into territory that made people seriously concerned. There were also reports of images where children's faces had been edited onto adult bodies. And at that point, it became pretty clear this wasn't just some harmless project. But then things got even stranger. Some of the boards had QR codes, and when people scanned them, they didn't lead anywhere normal. Some went to a Roku page. Others led to a Google Photos account with the name Keshish House, which, when searched, points to a hotel in Isfahan, Iran, and none of it really connects. Then another discovery was made. Some of the images looked like they were taken inside a home. In one photo, you can see part of a kitchen, and on top of a fridge, there are framed pictures. Pictures that look very similar to the same kinds of images posted on the account. Another image shows a living room, again, with framed photos of children. But the most important detail? There's an award sitting on a table, and if you look closely, you can make out a name, Tommy Daniel, which suggests that this might not just be a random username. It could actually be real. The award itself looks like something given to Walmart employees for long-term work, like 25, maybe even 35 years, which would mean this person is much older than you'd expect. After that, the trail went cold. The main accounts were gone. No new leads, nothing solid to go off of. But then another account showed up. Same naming pattern, same type of content, except this time it got even more disturbing. There was a board where faces had been edited out completely. Some images were missing just the eyes. Others had no features at all, just blank. People tried reverse searching the images. Nothing came up. Even Google flagged them as heavily altered. There were a couple more clues, though. One image looked like a blurry Google Maps screenshot, taken somewhere along Route 82, a highway that runs through several southern U.S. states. Another showed a road named Janus Drive, which also exists in a few of those same areas. So it's possible that whoever is behind these accounts is located somewhere in that region. But again, nothing confirmed. At the end of the day, there are no clear answers. All we really know is that someone, possibly named Tommy Daniel, has been posting heavily edited images of children across multiple accounts for over a year. And based on everything people have found, the intentions behind it don't seem good. While researching this, I also came across something else. Pinterest itself has been criticized quite a bit for how it handles situations like this. A lot of people online have pointed out how weak the moderation can be. Some users get banned for small things, while accounts like this stay up for long periods of time. And that's what makes this whole situation even more frustrating. Hopefully, going forward, the platform starts taking things like this more seriously, because right now, it's still out there, and we still don't really know who's behind it. On the night of August 3rd, 2009, a strange scene unfolded outside a hotel in Monterey. A very thin woman, visibly distressed, was standing outside the Fiesta Inn, yelling at police officers and people nearby. Her name was Gabriela Rico Jimenez. People at the scene began recording as she spoke, and what she was saying quickly caught everyone's attention. She wasn't just shouting randomly. She was making serious claims, talking about powerful individuals, murders, secret groups, and even cannibalism. After several minutes, officers stepped in and forced her into a police vehicle, taking her away from the area. The next day, local news stations aired the full footage of what happened. In the video, Gabriela can be heard repeatedly demanding her freedom. She claims she had been held somewhere for over a year, saying everything began back in the early 2000s. She talks about people in positions of power, saying they were responsible for killings. At one point, she even mentions Carlos Slim, claiming he knew about what was happening. She also says the authorities had taken her to both a police station and a hospital, but that no one was helping her. She describes being mocked by police when she tried to explain what she had seen. As she continues, her claims become even more extreme. She insists that people had been killed, and that those responsible were eating human flesh. She says she could smell it. She keeps repeating that she wants to be released and refuses to go with the officers again, accusing them of being involved. In short, Gabriela was claiming that she had been held by a powerful group operating in secret, one involved in violent crimes, and that the authorities were helping cover it up. Normally, when something like this happens, it's assumed the person is going through a mental health crisis or something similar. But this situation stood out to a lot of people for a couple of reasons. First, despite how extreme her claims were, the way she spoke followed a clear and consistent narrative. And second, she wasn't believed to be just anyone. Early reports described Gabriela as a model, someone who had worked in major cities like Mexico City, Paris, and New York. She was said to have appeared in magazines and even on television, not extremely famous, but known. Many people online even claimed they remembered seeing her before this incident, but if you try to look her up now, there's almost nothing. No confirmed record of her modeling career, no official information about her background, nothing beyond the video itself. Some blogs and articles still mention her, but the sources they reference no longer exist. The links are broken or have been taken down. Aside from that night in Monterey, there's almost no trace of her online. Because of that, some people believe she's been completely removed from the internet. Others go even further, suggesting that Gabriela herself may have disappeared. Since being taken away that night in 2009, there have been no confirmed sightings of her. Her location and what happened to her afterward remain unknown. Because of all this, the video has turned into something of an urban legend online. People continue to debate whether what she said was just rambling, or if there was something more behind it. Some believe her claims, as extreme as they sound, might have some truth to them, that she may have escaped from something real and was trying to expose it. During her rant, she mentioned Carlos Slim again, which only added to the speculation. At the time, he was one of the richest people in the world, and if Gabriela really had connections in modeling, it's not impossible that she could have crossed paths with influential figures. Some reports even claimed she had been involved with his family at one point, but those reports later disappeared. She also mentioned a man named Moreno, implying he had been killed. Some believe she was referring to Juan Camilo Mourinho, a high-ranking official who died in a plane crash not long before this incident. That crash killed 14 people and raised questions at the time. Because of this, people began connecting the dots, speculating whether powerful individuals were involved, whether that crash was connected, and whether Gabriela herself was taken to prevent her from speaking further. After all, if anyone had the power to make someone disappear, it would be someone at that level. A few weeks later, another detail surfaced. Someone claiming to be a law student posted online, saying they had visited a police station and believed they saw Gabriela there. Keeping their identity hidden, they shared their experience on a forum, saying, according to the post, the student said something like this. At the time, they were in the same place where Gabriela had been taken after her arrest. They said they immediately recognized her. And what stood out the most was her expression. She looked terrified, exhausted, completely distressed. The student claimed they went up to her and tried asking simple questions, like where she lived. Basic things, but her responses were strange. She allegedly told them that everyone was already dead, and that they all belonged to them, along with other things that didn't make much sense. They said they spoke with her for about 20 minutes, before, suddenly, a group of well-dressed men showed up. According to the story, these men quickly stepped in and forced the student to leave. The student asked why they were doing this. If she was just someone going through a mental episode, why handle it like that? They also asked where Gabriela was being taken, but they were told to stop asking questions, that it wasn't their concern, and that it would be better for them if they just left. As they were walking away, the men stopped them again and asked what Gabriela had said. The student claimed they simply replied, "Nothing, just random things." The next day, they say they went to report what happened to higher officials, but according to the post, they weren't taken seriously. They said the officials laughed it off and told them something unsettling, that Gabriela didn't exist, that she never existed, and then, even stranger, they were told that they didn't work there either. Now, it's important to point something out. This entire story comes from an anonymous post online. There's no way to verify who wrote it, or if it's even true. And honestly, the same goes for a lot of this case. There are a lot of big claims, but not a lot of solid evidence. If Gabriela really was a well-known model before this incident, where's the proof? No old magazine photos, no runway footage, no confirmed records, nothing. And if you keep digging into this story, the theories only get more extreme. Some people claim she was taken to a secret government facility. Others believe she was killed and covered up. There are even rumors about underground groups targeting people and doing horrific things behind closed doors. Some theories go even further, talking about things like cloning and powerful elites using people for disturbing purposes. But again, there's no real evidence backing any of this up. At the same time, though, if someone really was erased from the internet, you wouldn't expect to find evidence easily anyway. What we do know is this: Gabriela's location is unknown. No one knows what happened to her after that night, and that alone is unsettling. Now, it's also worth mentioning, the city this happened in has had its own issues in the past, especially when it comes to violence. But that doesn't automatically mean this case is part of something bigger. It's possible no one followed up on her story after that night. It's possible the claims about her being a model were exaggerated over time. Or it's possible there's more to this than we understand. At the end of the day, we don't really know whether her claims were real or whether she was simply going through something serious. One thing is certain: I just hope she's okay, and that wherever she is, she got the help she needed, because if not, the alternative is much harder to think about. Some stories are easy to forget, but ones like this stick with you long after they're over. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.